Many forward-thinking companies shifted their product to the cloud, and Atlassian is no exception. In the last year, we set an ambitious goal for the whole company, and everyone aimed to move their product to the cloud. And it was a really tight time frame, so it was challenging and impacted many teams, including my team, Micros. My name is Nelly Satari. I am the Senior Engineering Manager at Atlassian Micros team. So Micros is the Atlassian internal platform team, which, like many other platform teams, we are here to enable and empower Atlassian teams and developers to be more productive. So Micros offers some capabilities to Atlassian teams, and they use it, they deploy and operate their services to the cloud, specifically AWS. To, be fast as possible, as safe and secure as possible to work with the cloud. So having these all products moving to the cloud, Micros had to scale up because we had to cover and support thousands of services in the cloud, which means that we had to expand our AWS accounts, the number of accounts, and we had to establish new points of presence in different regions. This initiative became a really large project for Micros, and we called it DARE. You can see that. So DARE has two major objectives. And for some of you who are working at the companies at the scale, you know what does it mean when you hit the AWS rate limiting really fast. So we had to change our architectural design at the platform team, and we called that project account sharding, you can see here. So basically, we needed to make sure that all the services are evenly distributed in different AWS accounts instead of overwhelming one account with thousands of services. Otherwise, we could have hit the AWS rate limiting. The second part was some of our customers live in the regions that you can see on the screen, like Canada, London, Tokyo, and 7 regions, which they require to have data residency and data compliance. So we had to create those regions for them and making sure that Atlassian products are available on those regions. A little bit of background about myself. So in my previous role, I used to be a tech lead, and I had to really, my job required me to have strong project delivery skills as well as technical skills. And my main source of education and learning was Atlassian Agile website. I was fascinated by that, and I was, every day using the content. So when I decided to join Atlassian about 2 years ago, I had this assumption that everyone are the master of project delivery. So I was so excited. So I confidently walked my team through the project, introduced them to the DARE project, and hoping that everyone are happy and excited. Clearly, I was wrong. So when I walked my team through the scope of the project and the timeline, it was a massive shockwave to my team. Everyone was panicked, they were anxious and stressed, and they pushed me back and said, it's impossible. So I learned that as a leader, I need to fully understand the complexity of the project before commit to any project. Also, I need to understand the team maturity and the level of team performance before actually I do anything, like I needed to coach them properly. So, you might ask me, what is the complex project? Every project is complex. That's not the case. Some projects are really basics and straightforward, and Micros was really efficient in delivering of straightforward projects, but they never had a complex project to deliver. They never had the opportunity to do that. So there are some factors contributing to the complexity of the projects. I'll walk you through a few of them, and I'll show you that Micros basically tick all these boxes. The technical challenges and customer impact. So account sharding was a significant change to our platform. And due to accumulated tech debts over years, We didn't have a clean code. And every single change has the potential to cause a high severity incident, which could potentially impact our customers. So we had to be cautious, and we had to, that makes us a little bit slower than usual. The risk and uncertainty. When we wanted to create the new regions, we had a few runbooks to follow, but all those runbooks are out of date because we haven't really created new regions since years ago. So, and they weren't even aligned with the architecture design of account charting. So basically, there were so many risks, unknown, and we potentially could have had a lot of surprises. So we couldn't really have a clear understanding of what we are expecting to face. Another thing is interdependencies. So there was the cross-org project. We involved a lot of teams from different organizations, and obviously the synchronizations, the dependency management, they were all additional challenges that we faced. Tight deadline and lack of expertise. So we only have 6 months to deliver the project. And it wasn't easy to negotiate because it was already published in the Atlassian roadmap. And we had to kind of meet the deadline. Also, we didn't have so many people as experts. I had the newborn team, only 4 engineers and 4 more to hire. So really not an easy situation to be. Regarding the team performance, how do you know that your team is high performing or not? According to the Tuckman model, there are 4 stages for each team to go through, from the forming to the storming, norming, and then become the high-performing team. So do you think if the team is at the forming or a storming stage, they can deliver any complex project? Honestly, I don't think it's possible. When I joined Micros, I found so many passionate engineers, really smart, but they struggled to deliver projects. And there were some symptoms that it's in the middle of the circle, which kind of, like the indicator that your team is at the forming or a storming stage. Deadline creep. So the deadline of the project, we committed to some deadline. It was frequently extended without enough communication and justifications. No project visibility. Project managers come to the team and ask, how are you doing? And they said, we are good. So everyone just rely on the verbal confirmation from the team, and the team itself rely on their gut feeling and intuition, really no data points to rely on. Shift in priorities. You start the project, but it takes time, it takes a long time, and the company's priorities change, so they kind of ask you to stop your project and shift to the next priority, which makes sense. All of these, like symptoms turn out for the team to be a burnt-out team, which means that they are exhausted, they feel they don't have any achievement, and they don't get enough recognition, which we call it this, a state of mind burnout. Does it familiar? Some of the symptoms. If you see this in your team, probably you need to think about what state your team are in. Well, I hope you have a better empathy now with my team that what a situation we are in. And you kind of empathize with the Micros engineers when they shouted internally that we are not ready, and no one believed them. My story might be yours, if not today, maybe tomorrow. So leaders have a really key role in driving the team, especially when there is a challenge for the team. I had to contemplate a lot on the solutions and the situations, come up with different ideas, experiment those ideas, and make sure that I set my team for success, with collaboration with the team, obviously. So, there are 4 team characteristics that I thought high-performing teams should have, and I aim to develop those characteristics for Micros team. Accountable team, agile team, a healthy team, and a team who is focused. Let's start with the accountable team. When we start their project, our stakeholders were absolutely enthusiastic, really keen to get this project done. They know why we should do this. They were so keen. They know, the business value and the impact of this project, so certain that this is the way to go. The mistake that we made was we didn't actually walk the team through the same mental process. They weren't really clear on why we should do that, why we should make this effort to get this project done. What is the business impact? So we kind of throw the project to the team, assign the project to the team, and say, go. And obviously, they don't take any ownership and accountability because they don't know why. So what I did was running a one-day workshop, as simple as that, inviting all the teams and stakeholders, ask them to introduce the project to the team. Talk about the why, talk about the business value, the impact of this project. If we don't do it, what would happen? If we do it, what would the customer impact? So at the end of the workshop, everyone felt more meaningful and, the project became more special to them. We call that phase wonder phase, which sometimes, unfortunately, people skip that wonder phase. Having the direct interaction with the stakeholders is really inspiring for the team. So when the team feels that they have to update the stakeholders, be in touch with the stakeholders, they become a real character for them, and then the team has more accountability. So Micro's team followed 3 steps to update the stakeholders in different ways. One of them, which was the main one, is Atlas Ticket. You can see there. So the Atlas is one of the Atlassian products. Whenever we create a new project, we create a new Atlas Ticket. Atlas Ticket has an DIR, direct responsible. It has the scope of the project, the success criteria, and every single week on Fridays, the DIR updates the ticket. And all the stakeholders can subscribe to the ticket and get the updates. That's one way. The second way was blog posts. Blog posts are fun, interactive, and engaging. So after each milestone, once we deliver some functionality, we publish the blog post for our customers and, keep them up to date, keep them posted about the changes. Also, as I mentioned before, this is a cross-org project, which means we had a lot of teams involved. So we really needed to be synced with different teams and make sure that we are not blocking each other, how to manage the dependency, how can we accelerate the project as a group, not just one team focusing on part of the project. So we had weekly syncs, and every week the feature leads and tech leads get together and update each other. In my leadership experience, I found that behind every single conflict and miscommunication, there is unclear roles and responsibilities. So basically, you're not sure what is your role in this project, what are you expected to do, and you assume that other people in the team do what they need to do, which is the source of problem. And unclear roles and responsibilities caused frictions, caused miscommunications, and it kind of delayed the project because everyone, have to redo the work and go back and start again. We had one-day workshop for the developers. Everyone basically went on the board, put the sticky notes on the board, and said, I think this is my responsibility in this project. I think this is my role, and this is what I should do as part of this project. Which was really amazing, because some of the roles were not picked by anyone, so we kind of aligned with each other that, okay, this is your role, this is probably extra things that you need to focus on, or you don't need to focus on that one, I'm going to do that. So that workshop was a combination of stakeholders, project managers, EMs, and engineers. Let's be honest and ask ourselves if we really do the true Agile. In my personal opinion, I only can say I'm working on Agile when I'm finding the right trade-offs for my team. So Agile is about trade-offs. And when the project is, complex and the situation is really pressing the team, everyone just focus on the negativity. Agile triangle is here to highlight that the project has some fixed factors, the constants, but also the project has some variables. So we need to acknowledge the fixed factors, the constant, and then navigate through the variables to see how we can, find our success through those variables. In our example, the time was absolutely constant. We couldn't really change it, but we potentially could work on the people and the scope of the project, right? And I'll show you how. So I had to just find the trade-offs, and that makes me to become a conductor, basically. So to find the trade-offs, you have a few ideas, but how would you make sure that you get the support from your stakeholders, senior leaderships, and your team? This is a tricky part. It needs a lot of organizational skills, it needs presentation skills, and it needs collaborative mindset. For example, we had 7 new regions to create, right? But do we really have to create all of them at the same time? That was part of a scope of project, but we could potentially negotiate it. So we had negotiated with the stakeholders and asked them, let's start with one region, let's start with Canada region. Let's learn all the lessons, learn from our failures, our challenges, and then, we just apply all the lessons to the next regions. And we potentially can ship them even faster. They accepted, which was really helpful. Another example is, as I mentioned before, I didn't have enough people in my team, right? Only 4 people. I couldn't really go to different teams and say, can you please just, let us use your resources or just lend us some people, experts. I couldn't, unless I actually, prepare a plan for that. On that page, we put together all the parallel work streams that it, had the potential for having more people to the project. If someone asked me to let my team members go and join the other teams, I would ask, what is the workload they want to work on? I don't want to set my team for failure. So we needed to make it clear that when your team members come to our team, this is the actual work they're working on. This is the expertise we need. This is the level of complexity of that work. And, everything is just ready to go. This way, I could get 4 or maybe 5 people from different teams. Stakeholders went and explored for us to see how they can find those people with those expertise. They came back to us and they just, give us this opportunity to work with 5 extra people, which was amazing. We called them secondment team. Also, as a leader, you have to make tough calls. I needed my team to have a singular focus, remove the cognitive load from my team, and get them just to focus on the there. For this, I had to deprioritize other projects. So again, presenting whatever you wanted to do, talk about the impact. What if you don't really deprioritize them? What is the impact of, lack of this? What if you don't really de-scope your other works, basically? So collaboration is the magic, and usually we forget about it. It's really working. If you are on Agile, how much do you care about Agile methodology that you are on? Well, Scrum proved to be effective when you have a project deadline and when you have a really predictable, you need to have a predictable plan. On the other hand, Kanban is really working well when you don't have a fixed kind of requirement for your project, when you don't know what is the next, the requests are ad hoc, you get a lot of support from your customers, so you can't really predict what is the next piece of work we are going to do. If you want to understand a little bit more, because this is a deep topic, I actually have a article in the Atlassian Agile website talking about how we move micros from Kanban to a Scrum to serve our business need. So have a check, please. Another question for you. Do you think your Agile rituals are effective? Do you think they're a waste of time for your team, or they're tedious activities, or they're actually effective sessions and meetings to go? The purpose of rituals, Agile rituals, which I categorize it into planning sessions and the grooming sessions, is basically making sure that you have collaboration, you have transparency, continuous improvement, and focus. If you don't have those things as part of your meetings, maybe it's time to look into adjusting a little bit more. So we did a lot of adjustment. Usually, like previously, we used to have different activities, like, for example, capacity planning, spring kickoff, demo, retro, in different days. But we found it a little bit distracting. So we prefer to have a mass meeting Monday evening from 1 to 4, and we get together, having a little bit of break in the middle, go through everything that we want to do, set ourselves for the week. So we found Monday afternoon probably is not so productive, and we decided to have our meetings on Monday afternoon. We actually kick off with the reflection. Not sure if you've heard it before, but we get together. It's kind of meditative activity for the team. In our fast-paced world that we are living, usually the time flies and you don't get to see what value you added to your team or your business. You just, don't have time to reflect. That's why people have imposter syndrome, because they think, I'm not really adding much value to my team. So we take half an hour, 15 minutes, sit, think about what we have done last week, what we won, what we failed, who supported us, who we want to give kudos to, and what is the blockers, and we discuss about what kind of supports we need to get. So this is not just associated to the project and tickets, generally whatever you have done during your week, which proved to be really effective and connecting the team member with each other. Let's go quickly through some of the rituals. We start with setting the sprint goals and objectives. So in the beginning of our meeting, we actually decide what feature or functionality we want to deliver. So we set the objective, we pick the related tickets aligned with those objectives instead of going and randomly pick tickets from the backlog. And we measure our success at the end of the sprint by looking at our objectives. Every team member identified their capacity for the next 2 weeks, and it builds the healthy culture and transparency, because we don't want to overwhelm someone and overload them if they don't have capacity. So we do a little bit of calculation and we say, okay, these are the story numbers or amount of work that we can realistically accomplish in the next 2 sprints, and we commit to that. A sprint is ready, all good, we kick off our sprint and the time is ticking. Obviously, we don't wait for 2 weeks to see if we succeed or not. We have a few checkpoints during the sprint. One of them is daily stand-up, which I'm sure many of you are familiar. So we update each other on the progress, blockers, and the support we need from each other. We also have mid-sprint health check. So every Monday, like fortnightly, we go through the health check and we just, vote if we are feeling confident or not really that we are achieving our sprint goals. So if majority of the team don't feel confident, we go through the tickets and see if there is any blocker, if we need to shuffle around people, ticket, whatever we need to do to mitigate the risk of not meeting the sprint goal. Sprint review. So at the end of the sprint, we go through the tickets, review a state of all the tickets, see which one can be closed, which one can be not, so we carry over those tickets to the next sprint. did we achieve our goal? We check with the team. And if we don't, we go through the 5 why technique. The 5 why technique is cause and effect. So basically, you ask yourself, why didn't we achieve our goal? You come up with a reason, and then you ask another why. And you go 5 layers deep down the problem to find the root cause of the problem, basically. We found a lot of interesting things during our 5 whys techniques. People basically use it for incident management, but if you can't really achieve your goals, maybe it's an incident. And everyone just demo on what they do and showcase the features that they delivered. Once we close the sprints, there are so many metrics that we can just look into to kind of understand our team performance. So if you're a non-engineering team, probably you need to find your KPIs. If you're a sales team, maybe, like lead generation. If you're a customer support, time to respond to the customers. So it depends on your KPI. If you are an engineering team, there are so many other dev productivity metrics, for example, velocity, DORA metrics, or different Jira charts and reports. So we all go through together, through those metrics together, and we understand what is our team performance level. Sprint retro, we extract all the lessons, we set the action items for the next sprints, and we celebrate our effort for the previous sprint. Show your hand if this conversation looks familiar to you. When the project managers come and ask for the timeline, and developers said, I don't know, it depends on many factors. They said, please, just timeline. And they said, I don't know, it's just, my gut feeling says soon, but I don't know. Please, just give me some timeline. And they'd say, maybe 2 months, or maybe 6 months, depends. And when they insist and, become mad, they were just like, come on, this is the software, this is the art, this is the mystery. I can't really come up with the timeline. So this is a familiar situation, I think, for some of you. And we want to avoid it in our micros team. So we basically use the mid-sprint grooming sessions to work through how we can avoid this kind of conversations. And, get rid of those words on the screen. So in this session, mainly feature leads and tech leads get together. They go through, some of the bigger picture, the plan for the whole project. They look into data-driven reports, metrics. They look at the remaining work and the capacity of the team, and look at the bigger picture if we are really behind and if we should raise the risk at the earliest stage. So we try to avoid verbal confirmations from the team, instead going through the monitoring and reporting tools. There are so many tools to rely on. I just put a few of them. Dependency mapping tree. So when we have different tasks, some of them are dependent on each other, which means you come up with one big ticket that every other tickets are dependent on that. So to use, with using this Jira dependency mapper, we kind of realize what is our blocker, where we should focus on. So maybe we should put our all effort into the main ticket, which is the blocker. Or let's say the lingering items. There are some tasks which are carrying over sprint by sprint. Why? This should be closed by now, but they're kind of, if you can see, there are lists of sprints that this ticket is carrying over. So there is a problem here. We need to tackle this task. We need to make sure that the person who is on this task needs support. And we don't really spend much time on estimations. We actually use some of the automated estimation tools. We get a, guesstimation maybe, a little bit high-level estimation, but it works for us. It's not much different from the reality when the engineers estimate it. So these are the tools and so many more that feature leads try to use to make sure that they have a data point to rely on. This is not possible if you don't go with the incremental delivery approach. What I mean is, Some of the Agile team thinks that they have to jump into the implementation because, the time is tight. But this is a mistake. We need to spend some time, we need to advocate for our team to just, time box some design time, go through the whole tickets, go through what we really have as a big picture. We can't really just focus on the small pieces without looking at the big picture. So we come up with Jira epics, if you've heard of them. Epics are logical way of breaking down project into smaller milestones. So we logically break down our big projects into smaller phases, and we try to deliver them. We flesh out all the tickets, come up with the dependency between different epics, and try to see which epic is parallelized so we can add more people to help. All right. Healthy teams. I used to be in a team, and my manager, we had a big project with the tight timeline, and my manager used to get everyone, urge everyone to work day and night, fueled by coffee. And she said, we have to deliver it, which is true. But would it be sustainable? We delivered that project, but the team was collapsed afterwards. Everyone just left the team. Everyone was unhappy. So if we really want to, have a healthy team, we need to have a balanced team. As a leader, you can't only focus on the delivery of the project. You need to be on the side of your team as well as the business. You need to think about, the health of the team and the culture of the team. And the leaders are the compass of the team. If you are stressed, if you are not mindful about the situation, the team will go through the major anxiety and obviously burnout. How would you make sure that your team is healthy, though? There are some, tools. We have some plays at Atlassian, for example, Team Health Monitor, retro plays, team surveys. They are kind of data point for us. But other than that, leaders should be really observing and monitoring the health of the team by interacting with them, looking at, flags. Are they really distracted? Is there so many conflict and aggressive comments in the team? Is there any change in the behavior of people? If someone really doesn't get into talking to other team members, they feel isolated. Something that change in your team behavior flags that there is something wrong. So if you need to give them a recharge day, please do. If you need to, get them some support, please do. There are so many ways to make sure that your team are going healthy and not stressed. As a leader, you need to, when you see some of those flags, you need to communicate a lot. You need to give them feedback, immediate feedback. Otherwise, you can't really wait for the project to be finished. And, you need to have a lot of difficult conversations. That's probably where the actual leadership role comes out. If there are not enough process in place and you need to create process, maybe that's the time. This is the motto for Micros team. We win together, we lose together. So we don't really, praising the heroes. In the keynote, we talk about software engineering teams are a sport team, and that's really true. But I think in Micros, we are more a rowing team other than a soccer team. If we are not sync and align, we will all lose together. That made us to spend a lot of capacity of the team on collaboration. I know the time was tight and everyone wanted to ship the project, but we never even for a second underestimated the power of support, sharing, pair up, and shadowing with the team, especially seniors with the juniors. So it became an opportunity for seniors to mentor people, to coach people, and it became a growth opportunity for them. And for juniors, it became a pleasant experience. Otherwise, the stress will kill them. It will be paid off in the longer time if you think that, oh, we don't have time, we have to just smash the project. So, have you ever experienced the project fatigue? Especially when you're working in the infrastructure teams, all the projects are really long-term projects. And people just get really, exhausted, mentally demotivated, they're not engaged, and you basically lose the momentum, which is a really important thing in delivery of the project. As a solution, as I mentioned before, incremental delivery is the way. So we came up with different epics. Each epic on its own has a value, really. So when we deliver the epic, we celebrate it. We just get together, we celebrate it, we allocate, one day going together, having fun, having dinner, having team catch-ups, and we celebrate our small success, which is really important. Otherwise, the team will going through the project fatigue. And obviously, they don't get enough recognition and appreciation, which is another important factor. All right, let's have a flashback to six months ago when the team said, we are not ready, and they were stressed and panicked. Just in 6 months, and I would say 2 weeks before the actual deadline, we released a blog post that we shipped the DARE project, and it created a buzz at Atlassian, great news for everyone. Stakeholders were excited, and the team really felt energized. So we shipped the DARE project, and done. So far, all the photos that you see on the screen, I just generated with the AI. So I tried to manifest the concept that I want and visualize it with the AI generator. But this is actually Micro's team. So this is the day we shipped the project. Everyone was just, feeling accomplished. We went to Sydney Harbor, and we got a cruise. We went to have fun. Team were, satisfied. Stakeholders were happy. Business trusted much more in Micros than before. We enabled customers, to have data residency and data compliance in the new regions. And impossible is nothing. So as a leader, when we have some challenges for our teams, we need to play different roles. Maybe you need to play a role of coach, or a conductor, or maybe a compass, or connector. Maybe the problem is people are not really, cohesive and connective. Finding those problems and tackling those ones as a leader, probably it's the biggest takeaway that you can have from this session. Thank you very much for listening to me.